To follow the Codex Astartes, you must first read the Codex Astartes. Today, we're taking a look inside this book on Review Rollout.
Anvil of War! Review Rollout!
Hey guys, and welcome back to Anvil of War Gaming. Today on Review Rollout, we are taking a look at the 9th edition Space Marine Codex. Got to do a big shout out to our sponsors over at Red Dragon in Ottawa, Orleans, Ontario. These guys provided us with a copy so that we could take it apart, read it, and give you guys our thoughts and go through page by page all the glory that is hidden within this tome. So hope you guys enjoy, and if you do, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. Bottom right hand corner of your screen, you'll notice that there's a little Anvil of War icon. If you click it at any point in the video, if you're enjoying yourselves or if you're enjoying our stuff, then it'll subscribe you to the channel. That being said, I do want to do a quick couple notes on this thing. First of all, huge. It is a thick book. And there's a lot of pages in it. We're going to go through as thoroughly as we can, but obviously without this being a 2 or more hour video, we're going to try to cut through a few things and keep it as brief as we possibly can without missing any of the good stuff. This edition, we have some huge changes. We have 2 wounds for your firstborn Marines, your basic Space Marines that have not crossed the Rubicon. They are going to be at 2 wounds now apiece, which is going to be a bit of a game changer. I think we're going to see a lot of those guys back on the table, which is great. I mean, everybody has a vast collection of them. That being said, I will say that a lot of the rules, a lot of stratagems, a lot of the combinations are more geared towards the Primaris stuff. I think of the first 12 stratagems, I think 7 or 8 of them are for specifically for stratagems or specifically for Primaris units. But that doesn't mean that you can't get some juicy combinations on the tabletop with them. So without further ado, let's jump on the table and open this up, shall we? Look at this holy text. Look at this beautiful, beautiful book. It's thick. This thing is beefy. It is considerably larger than codexes in past, and there's a reason for it. It's got a ton of data sheets in it. Not sure exactly how many, but I haven't taken the time to go through and count them all, but there's a lot. There's a lot of units. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of beauty in this book. So let's dive in and take a look, shall we? So starting off, screaming faces. I'm not quite sure what those are, but that's kind of cool. Very grimdark. And we've got some beautiful, beautiful art. Here's your contents. Some beautiful new art from the cover. Fighting the Black Legion. Filthy Heretics. This is really beautiful. I'm loving what they're doing with this whole grimdark artwork that they've been kind of adding. They've really done a good job of bringing in new artists to revitalize, because a lot of the past codexes have had a lot of reused, recycled artwork, and it's just kind of refreshing to see them go in a different direction and start adding some new artwork. This is beautiful. I believe that's from the Warhammer 40,000 Astartes section anyways, from the rulebook, but still beautiful. Here we have all of the chapters at war in the galaxy. We've got all of the you've got all of your different chapter planets, home planets, and then you also have, Terra and Mars at the center of it all. And just it kind of maps all of the different war zones going on currently in our beloved hobby. So yeah, it's kind of a cool thing. It's definitely worth taking a look at this and just kind of understanding where everything is happening and what's happening. I mean, you've got all of the... you've got the Necrons coming in, you've got the Tyranids coming in, you've got it's just such a beautiful thing, really. You've got the Eye of Terror up here. Yeah, just unbelievable. I'd love to get a large print of that posted in my hobby room. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, moving on from that, we've got discussion on the chapter planets, talks about fleet-based chapters. Dark Templars, looking at you. Just, yeah, some chapters don't always have a homeworld, guys. Remember that. There's less fortunate out there. Here we've got some more beautiful artwork with the chapter organization, talking about that. Owen's Nurgly Boys getting beat up here by some Space Smurfs. Talks about the breakdown, the companies. Talks about the different, the chapter commands, the different divisions of the chapter command. It's really cool. More stuff on the chapter command. Symbols of authority. Yeah, the artwork. I'm super happy that they revitalized some of this stuff and updated and put new artwork in. It's so refreshing to pick up a codex and not have the same old in it every time. Talks about the first company. Battle companies. The Sacred Bolter. Beautiful. Where's on? Abris. Very cool. Talks about the different chapters involved in each war zone. That's kind of cool. You can go into the different sections on the different divisions. So you got the Reclusium, Apothecarian, Librarius, the Armory, beefy looking Tech Marine up there. Talks about some tanks, that's really cool. That would also be really cool to hang on the wall. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful artwork. And now we're getting into different chapters. So obviously you've got your Ultramarines. Can't have Space Marines without your Ultramarines. Poster boys. You got all the Successor Chapters. It's really cool. Gives you a little breakdown of each Successor Chapter. So if you want to do something a little different and you don't know what to do for your own chapter, you can always follow one of these and go down the Successor path. There's some really cool little pieces of lore in here. You got the Fists, Imperial Fists, Blood Angels, White Scars, new Invader ATV. Ugh. Anyways, I'm not gonna dwell on that. But, ugh. Dark Angels, Raven Guard. That's really cool. Artwork. Very emo-esque. Dude's looking pretty sad. Got the Warzone Damnos. Everybody involved. Salamanders. Not saying I'm super stoked about what this does for the Salamanders, but I'm super stoked about what this does for the Salamanders. And the Space Wolves. I'm super excited about what it does for the Space Wolves also. There's my boys. Yeah. Pretty cool. We got some Iron Hand stuff. We got some Death Watch stuff. Oh yes, and Death Watch are included in this book. Yeah. So there's rules for everybody in here. And now we got to break down a little some successor chapters. Black Templars for the Imperial Fists. Let's not forget that they're not a first founding chapter. I like to rub that into our buddy Josh every time I can. Raven Guard successor chapters. White Scar successor chapters. Iron Hands. And big news, Salamanders now have Successor Chapters, which they did not before. So I guess the Primaris have come for the Salamanders, and we've got 4 chapters here, and really cool little side blowers. Like I said, all of these have beautiful little just little breakdowns of their sort of the way they fight or their homeworld. These guys are really cool. If anybody wanted to do like a aquatic or a nautical themed Space Marine army, Dark Krakens is where it's at. These are kind of, yeah, that's sketchy. Heresy. But yeah, these guys, this is really cool. They're based on a homeworld that's aquatic, and there's only like one giant landmass in the middle of a basically planet of ocean. So very cool. Unknown foundings. Not sure who your daddy is. Caradon's there. Blood Ravens. Hide your relics. And now we're moving on. Some more lore, some short stories. It's pretty cool. We got the insignias and the markings for all the shoulder pads. A lot of people always have questions about that. If you want to make your guys as close to the lore as possible, then follow this. If you don't, that's okay too. Okay, and then we've got some Ultramarines designations for transports and stuff. That's pretty cool. Breaks down for all the different chapters, because I know some chapters have they have different heraldry, they have different designations, markings for their vehicles. This is beautiful. Look at that shot. Look at all those models. Beautiful GW terrain here. Big fan of these new building sets. If you guys haven't seen our video on our table made up entirely of that, then check that out. But yeah, you got Blood Angels, Ultramarines, and Raven Guard kicking butt together against just the Black Legion. That's a little unfair. Anyways, moving on. So now we're going into the rules. So as we get into the rules section, I just want to make a little disclaimer. I'm not going to cover everything. I'm not going to sit and talk about every single thing, because this would be a 2-hour video if I wanted to do such a thing. So we're going to be going through and we're going to talk about specific changes. We're going to minor little things that I think are going to affect majorly affect units from the past and new units. And we're not really going to focus on points changes either. So when we get to the points section, I will just kind of just show you guys. But yeah, it's too much to go over. Yeah, we want to make this a little bit more streamlined. So here we have just the different sections. Gives you the sort of a glossary or a contents for just the rule section. Gives you a little breakdown so you know where to jump to, because it is a huge book. All right, then we've got talking about combat patrol as an example of a combat patrol, and then it goes into detachment abilities. So it talks about company command. You can only include a maximum of 1 captain model and 2 lieutenants in each detachment in your army. So if you're going for a single detachment, then yeah, you got to keep that in mind. If you're going for multiple detachments and you're spending the command points, then I guess you don't really care. But definitely big deal. And watch for that captain keyword in some of your favorite characters, because if you don't think they're a captain, might want to double check that. So smash captains will be a little less prominent, I think, unless you're taking like a separate detachment to do so. So yeah, you got your chapter tactics, explains the breakdowns of the chapter tactics, which we are now getting into. So some small changes and tweaks to some of the chapter tactics, which is I mean, it's going to be a big deal for some. It's not going to be a huge deal for others. So let's go through and break down each one of these. We're not going to so much dwell on the changes, but we're just going to talk about how they stand today as of the release of this codex. So we've got Dark Angels. Each time a model with this tactic makes an attack, unless that model's unit has moved this turn, that excludes pile-ins or consolidation moves, add 1 to the attack's hit roll. So that's kind of cool. Definitely promotes some like gunline action, which is, I mean, a favorite tactic of the Dark Angels. It's a little less beneficial when it comes down to their fast-moving stuff. Yeah, it's just kind of interesting, though. Each time a combat attrition test is taken for this unit with this tactic, it is automatically passed. Further to what I just said about this not benefiting stuff like Raven Wing, etc., I'm sure you're going to see some additional changes when the new book releases. And do keep in mind, guys, that the current supplements as they stand for these books, or for these chapters, the ones that do have that do deservedly have their own supplement, they still are in effect, so they still stand. Psychic Awakening also still stands. So you've got some interesting combinations and things that are going to be affecting these units as they stand right now, and we're waiting for updates on all of those. Now, check your FAQs though, because they did, upon release of this book, they did put out a swathe of updates and FAQs for each of the individual supplements. So, White Scars, units with this tactic are eligible to declare a charge in turn which they advance or fall back. So advance and charge, fall back and charge, sweet, works really well on bikes, just saying. Models with this tactic do not suffer the penalty incurred to their hit roll for firing an assault weapon even in the same turn that they advance. So yeah, really cool. If you have some assault weapons lined up on these guys, then don't worry about it. So basically melta guns. I mean, there's other assault weapons out there, but that's the big one for these guys, especially when you think of all the White Scars bikes that are in existence and floating around in your hobby communities. Space Wolves, Hunters Unleashed. Small change here. Each time a model with this tactic makes an melee attack, if the model's unit made a charge move, was charged, or performed heroic intervention this turn, add 1 to the attack's hit roll. So that's pretty standard. That was we've already seen that, but this is where it gets interesting. Units with this tactic are eligible to perform heroic interventions as if they were characters. So gone are the days of 6 inches heroic intervention for characters, for Space Wolf characters, but now every single thing in the army can heroically intervene. Sweet. So we've got Imperial Fists. Each time a model with this tactic makes a range attack, the target does not receive the benefits of light cover against that attack. No light cover for you. Each time a model with this tactic makes an attack with a bolt weapon, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. Unmodified. So just remember that. And scores 1 additional hit. So bolter weapons are your friends if you're an Imperial Fist player. No surprise there. Crimson Fist. Each time a model with this attack makes a ranged attack against a unit that contained at least 5 more models than the attacker's unit, when it was selected to shoot, add 1 to that attack's hit roll. For the purpose of this tactic, vehicle models count as 5 models. So this means that small minimum size units are going to be your friend with Crimson Fists. Just saying. Smaller units are better than bigger units when you're playing these guys, because you always want to be benefiting from your special rules. Each time a model with this tactic makes an attack with a bolt weapon, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. So they get that carried over from their papas, the Imperial Fists. Black Templars. You can reroll advanced rolls and charge rolls made for units with this tactic. Beauty. Each time a model with this tactic loses a wound as a result of a mortal wound, roll a 1d6. On a 5+, that wound is not lost. Resilient to mortal wounds. Kind of because they hate psychers and they want to be kicking ass in the psyker phase. Psychic phase, psyker phase, psychic phase. Blood Angels, Red Thirst. Add 1 to the advance and charge rolls made for units with this tactic. Each time a model with this tactic makes a melee attack, focuses on melee attack. If that model's unit made a charge roll, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention this turn, add 1 to the attack's wound roll. So that's pretty standard. That's carried over. Flesh Tearers. Each time a model with this tactic makes a melee attack, if that model's unit made a charge move, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention this turn, add 1 to that attack's wound roll. Sweet. On an unmodified wound roll of 6, improve the armor penetration characteristic of the attack by 1. This is cumulative with the bonus for Assault Doctrine if it is active for your army. That's pretty sweet. You can get some really beefy combos, melee combos with the newest Stardust chain swords, the chain swords. In combination with this, you can get some really cool stuff. Iron Hands. Each time this unit, a model with this tactic would lose a wound, roll a d6 on a 6. That wound is not lost, so 6 plus feel no pain, carried over. Model with this tactic whose characteristic can change as they suffer damage are considered to have double the number of wounds remaining for the purposes of determining what those characteristics are. So, yeah, that's obviously geared towards having vehicles keep chugging, keep doing damage. Pretty sweet. Heavy vehicles and Iron Hands lists, no surprises there. Ultramarines. Add 1 to the leadership characteristic of models with this tactic. Units with this tactic are eligible to shoot in a turn in which they fell back. If they do, then until the end of the turn, each time a model in that unit makes a range attack, subtract 1 from the attack's hit roll. Pretty sweet. Pretty cool. Okay, Salamanders, Forged in Battle. Each time a unit with this tactic is selected to shoot or fight, you can re-roll 1 wound roll when resolving that unit's attack. Each time that an attack with an armor penetration characteristic of -1 is allocated to the model with this tactic, that attack has an armor penetration of 0 instead. So AP -1, it's fairly prominent still, so yeah, they're ignoring it. That's pretty cool. Now, big change here with the wound roll instead of hit and wound roll per unit. So now they're only getting a wound roll. So only 1 wound roll. Anyway, and it's unit. So remember that, not just models. Yeah, this got a little less special, but when you combine it with their chapter tactics, it's still pretty strong. Or sorry, not chapter tactics. With their chapter supplement, it's pretty strong still. I will say that this is a little hurtful. These guys you definitely want to take minimum size units. You don't want to be rocking huge squads with these guys because yeah, it's just not. It's not going to be in your favor. You want small units, so you get more units. Therefore, you're getting more chances to re-roll those wound rolls. So keep that in mind when you're building your lists. 5-man squads, maybe not 10-man squads, is the way to go. Raven Guard. This one's a wordy. Each time a range attack is made against the unit with this tactic, if the actor is more than 18 inches away, then a unit with this tactic is treated as having the benefits of light cover against that attack. Each time a range attack is made against an infantry unit with this tactic that is entirely on or within a terrain feature, if the attacker is more than 12 inches away, then the unit with this tactic is treated as having the benefits of dense cover against the attacks. Raven Guard, interesting. Shadow Masters, I like it. Deathwatch Xenos Hunters. Each time a model with this tactic makes a melee attack against a Tyranids, Eldari, Orc, Necrons, or Tau Empire unit, reroll the hit roll of 1. After both sides have finished deploying their armies, select 1 battlefield roll until the end of the battle. Each time a model with this tactic makes an attack against an enemy unit with that battlefield roll, re-roll a wound roll of 1. So some small tweaks and changes there, but again, I think Deathwatch are slated to come in the near future, as well as Space Wolves and as well as Blood Angels. So, and I imagine Dark Angels not far behind that. So, expect those pretty soon. They'll bring those guys back up to snuff. That's actually interesting because it does mean that Ultramarines, Raven Guard, Salamanders, White Scars, Imperial Fists, all the guys that have their own supplement standing are probably going to be kicking around for a while. So some nasty combos available to the Marines. Big surprise there. Marines always have great stuff. But let's go into the Successor Chapter traits. Now, just a quick little blurb here. If you instead make your own chapter, basically, you basically get to pick 2 successor traits from the following list. Okay? So you're picking 2 and just run with it. There's some changes from the last codex. There's some minor changes. We're not going to talk about all of them, but we're just going to come skim through here. So Bolter Fusillade, each time a model with this tactic makes a range attack with a bolt weapon, reroll a hit roll of 1. Born Heroes, each time a model with this tactic makes a melee attack. If that model's unit made a charge move this turn, add 1 to the attack's hit roll. Duelists, each time a model with this tactic makes a melee attack against an infantry or biker unit, an unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically wounds the target. You cannot select this tactic if you've already selected the Whirlwind of Rage tactic, which see opposite. So, there's some little exceptions here where you can't pick 2 and make the perfect nasty combo. They basically just tried to make it so that people aren't getting away with some of the shenanigans that they were doing before. Fearsome Aspect. Units with this tactic have the following ability. Fearsome Aspect Aura. While an enemy unit is within 3 inches of this unit, subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of models in that enemy unit. Okay, so now your Loyalist Space Marines are Night Lords. Fun. Hungry for Battle. Add 1 to advance rolls for charge rolls made for units with this tactic. Inheritors of the Primarch. You cannot select this successor tactic if you have selected any other successor tactic, and if you select this tactic, you cannot select a second. Essentially, you pick your first foundings chapter that you want to follow, and it has to be a first founding chapter, and they're listed here, and you get those rules. It's kind of cool. So it's basically make your own successor, but play them as one of the first foundings, and they're a successor. Cool. Knowledge is power. Each time a psychic test or deny the witch test is taken for a psyker unit with this tactic, reroll any or all dice results of 1. So if you're going like librarian or librarians heavy with this, it's kind of weird. Yeah, this is kind of weird. I mean, it would be great if you could like throw that on Grey Knights or something, but it makes successor Grey Knights. Yeah, that's some heresy right there. Yeah, not sure about this one. Long range marksman, add 3 inches to the range characteristic of rapid fire and heavy weapons, excluding flame weapons models with this tactic are equipped with. And it actually lists the page. There's actually a breakdown of what weapons are classified as such in this book. So that's a change. Long range marksman used to be available on flamers, but why would you need it now? Because they're 12 inches. No bumping those up to 15 inches. So if you were thinking that, too bad. Master Artisans. Each time a unit with this tactic is selected to shoot or fight, you can re-roll 1 hit roll when resolving that unit's attack. Yeah. This hurts me because that's my salamanders. That's ours. Anyways, preferred enemy. When you select this tactic, select one of the following faction keywords: Chaos Knights, Tyranids, Eldari, Orc, Heretic Astartes, Necrons, Tau Empire. Each time a model with this tactic makes a melee attack against a unit with this faction keyword, re-roll a hit roll of 1. Rapid fire. Models with this tactic do not suffer a penalty incurred to their hit rolls for firing assault weapons in the same turn they have unit advance. Scions of the Forge. Models with this tactic whose characteristics can Can change as they suffer damage, are considered to have double the number of wounds wounds remaining, sorry, for the purpose of determining what those characteristics are. So yeah, it's if you want to make Iron Hands that aren't Iron Hands, that's the way to go. Or if you want to carry that over and make them a successor or something like that, then you can kind of see where some of these are kind of in line with the tactics associated to their parent chapters. So you can kind of carry over and give them a little bit of the flavor of your parent chapter, and then, go from there. Stalwart. Each time attack is made against a unit with this tactic, unmodified wound roll of 1 or 2 always fail, irrespective of any abilities that the weapons or the attacker may have. It is budget transhuman physiology, and always on all of your units. Kind of cool. I mean, Marines T4, you're essentially looking at strength 8 weapons and above firing against your Marines. So, yeah, I don't know. Could be cool. It's got some potential there. Each time a range attack in this unit... each time a range attack is made against the unit with this tactic, if the attacker is more than 18 inches away, the unit with this tactic is treated as having the benefits of light cover of the attack. So again, carried over from the Raven Guard. Stoic, add 1 to the leadership characteristic of models with this tactic. Tactical withdrawal. Units with this tactic are eligible to declare a charge even if they fell back this turn. So again, yeah, carrying over from White Scars. Warded, each time a model with this tactic would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, roll 1d6 on a 5+, that wound is not lost. Whirlwind of Rage, each time a model with this tactic makes an attack, a melee attack, if that model's unit made a charge move, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention this turn, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. You cannot select this tactic if you've already selected the duelist tactic, so yeah, they don't work together. So sorry. Moving on from there, we're going into the chapter command. So this was carried over from Psychic Awakening, and now you're able to upgrade your specific characters to the leaders of their departments. And here we have points values for each. So, and increased power levels. So, what that means is no more spending command points on this. If you want to upgrade your characters, then you have to do so through points. And some of them are, I mean, Chapter Master for 40 points. Some people think it's, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence of whether or not I think that's worth it. It's all right. Master of Sanctity, only 25 points. This is interesting. Chapter, the company champion's only 15 points extra. Librarians, 25 points. So Chaplain and Librarian are the next most expensive after the Chapter Master. But anyways, quick rundown of each. Chapter Master, so if you increase them to a Chapter increase the points on your Captain to a Chapter Master, essentially you gain the following. Select 1 friendly Chapter Core. We'll talk about that a little bit more soon, but or chapter character unit within 6 inches of this model until the start of your next command phase. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you can re-roll the hit roll. Yay. Relics and warlord traits, there's a couple, so each one has 1 relic, 1 warlord trait associated that you can take. Master of the Codex is their warlord trait. At the start of your command phase, if this warlord is on the battlefield, roll 1d6 on a 4+, you gain 1 command point. So 4+, in the command phase, and you get a command point. That's kind of cool. Angel Artifice, the bearer has a save characteristic of 2+, and add 1 to the bearer's wound and toughness characteristic. So, yeah. God help us if we ever see captains on bikes. We're not going to see it yet, but if this carries over and we do, ooh boy. Or if they release one and then they put a data slate out for that, watch out for White Scar boys running around with +1 wound, +1 toughness, save 2+, running around with T6 base. Pretty sweet. So then we have the upgrade for your chaplain. Now for this we have the, for the Master of Sanctity, we have basically him able to chant one more litany a turn. He's also able to have one extra litany, so it's definitely worth taking, I think, for 25 points. If you're taking a chaplain, beef him up and give him that, because that's pretty sweet. Yeah, and then you have your Warlord trait and relic. So the Warlord trait is each time the Warlord recites a litany, you get to add one to see if it's inspiring. And then there's a stratagem that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but every time he uses it, it only costs 1 command point instead of 2. And it's a pretty great stratagem. And it's going to pair really well with some models that have been collecting dust recently, so I like this. Each time an attack is made against the bearer, your opponent cannot reroll the hit roll, cannot reroll the wound roll, and cannot reroll the damage roll. Make him tough as nails. The bearer has the following ability: the Emperor's Judgment Aura. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this bearer, each time a morale test is taken by this unit, roll 1 additional d6 and discard the lowest result. So that's pretty sweet. Master of the Forge. Basically, each time this model repairs a model using its Blessing of the Omnissiah ability, that model regains up to 3 lost wounds instead of up to D3. Decent. I mean, you throw that on an Iron Hands boy and keep him repairing those vehicles. Although they're already fighting at another or a tier above anyways, typically, so it's interesting. And then Warden of the Ancients. While a friendly chapter dreadnought is within 6 inches of this warlord, add 1 to its strength and attacks characteristic. Ooh boy, Nathan has so many dreadnoughts, and I can see him having fun with this. Although it is on a, it's still pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, and then the relic is it's his Omnissiah Power Axe, Omnissiah Power Axe, and it replaces it, and you get +3 to strength, AP -2, damage 3 flat. Each time an attack is made with this weapon against a vehicle unit, if the saving throw is failed, the target suffers 1 wound in addition to any other damage. So if you beefed up a Master of the Forge to pump out a bunch of attacks with another relic, or with some combinations, you could get something cool going on there. It's just a nice little throw-in, I guess, if you have the relic and you want to use it. You're not going to see a lot of characters in Space Marine lists anymore, I don't think. I think you're going to see, it depends. I think you're going to see 2 in every list. I don't think you're going to see 3 in every list going forward. So, anyways, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Chief Librarian. Upgrade your Librarian to the best Librarian for your chapter. Model knows 1 additional psychic power from the chosen discipline, and can attempt to deny 1 additional psychic power in your opponent's psychic phase, meaning they know 3 and they're denying 2, and they're casting 2. It's pretty sweet. This is good. Add 1 to the psychic test taken for this warlord. If you take his warlord trait, and the neural shroud, increase the range of the bearer's psychic hook ability to 24 inches. Pretty sweet. Yeah, there's a lot going on with him that I can see being worthwhile. This is exciting. Chief Apothecary is kind of fun. At the end of your movement phase, this model can use its combat restorative ability twice instead of once. And then you have the relics and warlord traits. So the warlord trait, each time this warlord uses its combat restoration ability, the models being healed regains up to 3 lost wounds instead of D3. Each time this warlord is selected to return a destroyed model to a unit by using the command revival stratagem, that stratagem causes 0 command points. So we'll talk about that in a bit. It's kind of fun. Models equipped with a bolt pistol or absolver bolt pistol only. This relic replaces a bolt pistol or absolver bolt pistol and has the following profile: range 18 inches, pistol 1, strength 5, AP -3, damage 2. Each time attack is made with this weapon against an infantry unit, that attack always wounds on an unmodified wound roll of 2+, and has a damage characteristic of 4. So against infantry, this thing's pretty gross. Chapter Ancients. Basically, in your command phase, select one friendly chapter core unit within 6 inches of this model. Until the start of your next command phase, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the attack's hit roll. Pretty strong. Yeah, you can see some of these guys running around again. Steadfast Example. While a friendly chapter core unit is within 6 inches of this warlord, that unit has the Objective Secured ability. If a model in such a unit already has this ability, then the model counts as one additional. That model counts as one additional model when determining control of an objective marker. So, some real objective control going on with this guy if you decide to go that route. Although taking a warlord trait on a chapter ancient just seems weird to me. But each time a friendly model is destroyed and makes attacks as a result of the bearer's Astartes Banner ability, the model can make 2 attacks with one of its melee weapons instead of 1. Woo! That's gonna be fun. All right, Chapter Champion. Yeah, this is fun. Each time a melee, I hope to God we see a Primaris. I really want to see a Primaris Chapter Champion. Anyways, Skillful Parry. Each time a melee attack is made against this model, subtract 1 from the hit roll. Each time a model makes a melee attack against an enemy character unit, you can re-roll the wound roll. This model has an attacks characteristic of 5 and a leadership characteristic of 9. Beefy boy. Warlord trait. While a friendly chapter core or chapter character unit is within 6 inches of the warlord, you can re-roll charge rolls made for that unit. Model, and then the relic, models with master-crafted power sword only. This relic replaces a master-crafted power sword, and has the following profile. Blade of Triumph, and it's +3 strength, AP -3, damage 3. Pretty cool. And now we're into stratagems. So as for stratagems, we're going to just talk about... we're just going to go through and skim through them. I'm not going to focus on every single one, but I'm going to talk about the ones that I think are going to be... There's definitely some changes here. First and foremost, I got to mention that there are some changes. Some of the stratagems do similar or the same thing as their previous stratagem, but some of them have been tweaked slightly. We're not going to focus on all of the changes. Again, we're just going to go through and talk about just sort of what shenanigans we can get up to with all these. I want to talk about that. So Death of the Traitors. Use the stratagem in the fight phase. When an Adeptus Astartes unit from your army is selected to fight, until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack against a Heretic Astartes unit, you can re-roll the hit roll. Death of the Traitor. Death of the False Emperor. This is kind of cool. 1 command point. Going to be good against Chaos. Honor the Chapter. Use the stratagem at the end of the fight phase. Select 1 Assault Intercessor Squad unit from your army that is within engagement range of the enemy units, and that unit can fight again. So now it only works on Assault Intercessors. 2 command points. Good on a 10-man squad, not so good on a 5-man squad. Interesting. Again, as mentioned before, there's some maybe Flesh Tearers nastiness that could come from that. I can see... I can see some stacking abilities going really well with these, or maybe Assault Intercessors for, maybe for Black Templars or something here. There's some stuff there. Fury of the First. Use the stratagem in your shooting phase when an Adeptus, in your shooting phase, first of all, when an Adeptus Astartes unit from your army is selected to shoot, or in the fight phase, when an Adeptus Astartes unit from your army is selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, each time a Terminator model in that unit makes an attack, add 1 to that attack's hit roll. So that's carried over. It's just the wording's a little interesting. I feel like they could have trimmed that down and made it a lot easier to read and or say. But I guess if you have units with Terminators mixed in, which, I mean, some armies have, some Marine chapters have the ability to do, then you can still use this on them, and that character, I don't know. I don't know if you ever would, but I think it's better used on a full squad of Terminators. But anyways, that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Transhuman Physiology. Use this stratagem in any phase. When a Primaris unit from your army is selected as a target of an attack, until the end of the phase, each time an attack is made against that unit, an unmodified wound roll of 1 to 3 for the attack fails, irrespective of any abilities the weapon or the models making the attack may have. If this unit contains 5 or fewer models, the stratagem costs 1 CP. Otherwise, it costs 2 CP. So, again, looking at Salamanders, looking at Crimson Fists, just there's some reasons to take some min squads and have this only cost 1 command point. It's definitely good. It's 5 or fewer models, so if you're thinking of taking 6 Bladeguard or 6 of the Eradicators or something like that, contemplate taking 5 instead, because then you can pop Transhuman on them for 1 command point. Rapid Fire. Use this stratagem at the end of your shooting phase. Select 1 Intercessor Squad or Veteran Intercessor Squad unit from your army. That unit can shoot again. I mean, yeah, sweet. Why not? 2 command points. 1 command point. Gene Rot Might. Use this stratagem in the fight phase. When a Primaris unit from your army is selected to fight until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, an unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically wounds the target. Booyah. Unyielding in the face of the foe. There's some typos in here, but use this stratagem in any phase. When a Gravis unit from your army is selected as the target of an attack until the end of the phase, each time an attack with a damage characteristic of 1 is allocated to a model in that unit, add 1 to the armor saving throw made against that attack. Pretty good. 1 command point. Worth it. Again, you're looking at Eradicators or Aggressors with this is pretty sweet. I should have mentioned, the Gene Rot might also contemplate, Transhuman Physiology. Contemplate taking a 5-man Aggressor Squad as well. Not a 6. I mean, 5 also fits in a Repulsor, so just, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Now we're moving on to the Epic Deed Stratagems. So again, these were broken down. So you've got your Battle Tactic Stratagems, your Epic Deed Stratagems, color-coded. You've got your Requisition Stratagems and your Strategic Play Stratagems. And then your War Gear Stratagems. And they're all color-coded for you, so you can find them a little easier. I like that. I like to organize mine by phases, so that I know that in this phase I have to use this ability if I want to use it, but I mean, this is kind of cool too. Anyways, let's move on. Use the stratagem in the fight phase. When an Adeptus Astartes character model from your army that has not already been selected to fight in this phase is destroyed, do not remove that model. Is not already been selected to fight in this phase. Remember that. Is destroyed, do not remove that model from play. It can fight after the attacking model's unit has finished making their attacks. So wait till they're done, and you get to fight with your boy. After resolving the destroyed model's attack, it is then removed. 2 command points, sometimes worth it. You can get some fun out of that. Armor of Contempt. Use the stratagem in any phase. When an Adeptus Astartes vehicle model from your army would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound. Basically, 5+ feel no pain against mortal wounds. Armor of Contempt has got me out of a lot of trouble before. I love it on my Stormfang gunship. Anyways, use the stratagem in your command phase. Select 1 Adeptus Astartes Machine Spirit. This is Power of the Machine Spirit model from your army. Until the start of your next command phase, that model is considered to have its full wounds remaining for the purposes of determining what characteristic on its profile to use. Alright, Wisdom of the Ancients. Use the stratagem command phase. Basically, give your it's 1 command point on a Dreadnought. It gives your Dreadnought the following auras. While a friendly chapter core unit is within 6 inches of the model, each time the model in that unit makes an attack, re-roll the hit roll of 1. And Tactical Precision, you can choose, I think you actually, either of the Rights of Battle ability or the Tactical Precision ability. So you have to pick which one. Tactical Precision, while friendly chapter core unit is within 6 inches of this model, each time a model in that unit makes an attack or reroll wound rolls of 1. So you can make him a budget captain, budget lieutenant. It's kind of interesting. Then we have the commanding oratory. I always struggle with that word. 2 command points. Basically, pick a chaplain. Any phase other than the command phase at the beginning of the phase. You can chant a litany that has not already been chanted that turn by another friendly chaplain. It's automatically expiring. You don't roll. And it takes effect until the start of your next command phase. So, where this is huge, is that Terminator chaplains and jump pack chaplains are now super viable because you can drop them down, spend 2 command points, 1 command point if you've upgraded your chaplain, and you can have them chanting that turn, just like that. It's only 1 litany, so even if you have upgraded him, he's not going to be doing chanting 2 that turn, but it does change things like as far as charging with your chaplains and all that stuff. It's pretty good. I like this. I like this a lot. Combat Revival. Use the stratagem at the end of the movement phase. Select 1 Chapter Apothecary unit from your army that is, and then select one. And then select 1 friendly chapter infantry, chapter biker unit that is not at its starting strength and is within 3 inches of that apothecary. 1 of the selected units' destroyed models is returned to its unit with full wounds remaining. That's fun. That'd be really good on like Gravis stuff. Yeah, that'd be fun. Relic of the chapter. Essentially, pay 1 command point, get an extra relic. And then it limits how many, depending on the game size, it limits how many times you can use it. Hero of the chapter, basically you can create another warlord, a sub-warlord in your army. 1 command point, it's pretty cool. Yeah, these are kind of carried over. So these are your requisition stratagems in red, just to remember. And strategic play stratagems. So we're just going to quickly run through these. Use a stratagem in your movement phase when Adeptus Astartes biker, land speeder, or storm speeder unit in your army falls back. That unit is still eligible to shoot with this turn, even though it fell back. So that's pretty fun. Let's remember that stuff that flies doesn't fall back and shoot anymore. So this is a way to get that. I'm sure you'll start seeing stratagems like this in every book, in every codex. Use this stratagem in your charge phase when Adeptus Astartes jump pack unit from your army finishes a charge move. This is interesting. Hammer wrap 1 command point. When Adeptus Astartes jump pack unit from your army finishes charge move, roll 1d6 for each model with a jump pack in that unit that is within engagement range of the enemy unit. For each dice roll result that equals to or exceeds the enemy unit's toughness characteristic, it suffers 1 mortal wound. So equal to or over. Yeah, so you're looking at T4 and below on this, T4, T3 stuff. That's where it's going to be the biggest. If you have a full squad charging against something with like T5, you're definitely going to get a few mortal wounds, but against 4 and 3, that's going to be really strong. That is a reason to dust off your jump pack Marines, your assault squads, assault Marines. Skilled Riders. Use the stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase. When Adeptus Astartes biker, land speeder, or storm speeder unit from your army advanced is selected. That advance is selected as the target of a range attack until the end of the phase. Each time an attack is made against that unit, subtract 1 from the attack's hit roll. So there's your jink. Uncompromising Fire. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase. Select 1 Adeptus Astartes infantry unit from your army that is performing an action. That unit can shoot this phase without that action failing. 2 command points. It's expensive. Steady Advance. Use the stratagem in your movement phase. When Adeptus Astartes infantry unit from your army makes a normal move until the end of the turn, that unit is considered to have remained stationary. Adaptive Strategy, 2 command points. Use the stratagem in your command phase. If a chapter warlord from your army is on the battlefield, and a combat doctrine is active for your army. Select one chapter core unit from your army that is on the battlefield. Until the start of your next command phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, the Devastator Doctrine, Tactical Doctrine, and Assault Doctrine are considered to be in effect active for that attack. Wow. That's 2 command points. That's really strong. I mean, you throw that on like aggressors, or you throw that on... Yeah, that is filthy. I love it. Suppression Fire. Use the stratagem in your shooting phase. When a whirlwind model from your army is selected to shoot until the end of the phase, each time a model makes an attack with a weapon that has the blast ability, if a hit is scored for that attack, then until the start of your next turn, the target cannot fire Overwatch or set to defend and cannot be selected to fight until all eligible units from your army have done so. 1 command point. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, looking at that's my Skitari stratagem from Engine War. Anyways, Terror Troops. Use the stratagem in your command phase. Select 1 Reaver unit from your army until... that unit gains the following ability, the Terror Troops Aura. Until the start of your next command phase, while an enemy unit is within 3 inches of that unit, it loses the objective secured ability and any similar abilities that allow them to control an objective marker regardless of the number of enemy models within range of that objective marker. And until the end of the turn, each time a Reaver unit ends a normal move, or an advance or a charge move within 3 inches of an enemy unit that is performing an action, roll 2d6. If the total exceeds that enemy unit's leadership characteristic, the action and the unit is attempting to perform immediately fails. Wow. 2 command points. That's big. Brett and I, when we were reading through this, he mentioned Reavers having some love, and that's pretty huge. That is going to make them more viable for sure. Guerrilla Tactics. Use the stratagem in movement phase. When a Phobos unit from your army that is more than 6 inches from an enemy model is selected to move, if the mission you are playing is using the Strategic Reserves rule, place that unit into Strategic Reserves. 1 command point. Orbital Bombardment. Use the stratagem in command phase. If an Adeptus Astartes Warlord from your army is on the battlefield. 3 command points, guys. Select 1 point on the battlefield and place a marker on that point. At the start of your next command phase, roll 1d6 for each unit within 6 inches of the center of that marker, adding 1 to the if the unit being rolled for is within 3 inches of the center of the marker, and subtracting 1 if the unit being rolled for is a character. On a 2 to 5, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds, and on a 6, that unit suffers d6 mortal wounds. The marker is then removed. You cannot use this stratagem. You can only use the stratagem once. Okay, 3 command points. If you desperately need to get an enemy off of an objective marker and you need to see them move in their turn, I can see you using this. Other than that, I don't see it being worth it. 3 command points is hefty, but... And I mean, it's for something that's probably not going to do a lot of damage because everybody's going to run away. So you're not really using it for the damage. You're using it for as a get off the objective, run away. Yeah, you're using this for the tactical and the strategic value, not for damage dealing value. So, yeah. Okay, now we're on to the War Gear Stratagems. Now, for the War Gear Stratagems, I'm just going to really skim through these. They're all situational. Some of them share keywords with specific units, so they're all very situational and very specific to the units with the keyword. So, Melta Bombs, for example, now you can throw a Melta Bomb against the vehicle if a unit has the Adeptus Astartes Melta Bomb keyword, and it's basically if the hit is scored, that unit suffers 2d3 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. So you pick one model, he tosses a Melta Bomb against the side of a vehicle, and Flak Missile, use a stratagem. It's 1 command point, use a stratagem in shooting phase. Pick a model with a missile launcher. You can only make 1 attack with that weapon this phase, but you add 1 to the attack's hit roll. If a hit is scored, target suffers 2d3 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. It has to be against something with the aircraft keyword. Hellfire shells, I mean, small changes there, but everybody knows what essentially that does. And you've got just tremor shells for Thunderfire cannon. It's not built out in anymore, but essentially if the target isn't Titanic and does not fly, until the start of your next movement phase, have the move characteristic of models in the target unit and subtract 2 from the advanced rolls and charge rolls for that unit. So, Grav Pulse is talking about the Grav Pulse field for the repulsors, etc. It's kind of interesting. Yeah. Thing going on, you've got Smokescreen. Smokescreen's really interesting. 1 command point, use the stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase. When an Adeptus Astartes Smokescreen unit from your army is selected as a target of an attack, until the end of the phase, each time an attack is made against that unit, subtract 1 from that attack's hit roll. So that's pretty swell. I like that. And so that's a change to smoke launchers. And it's way better because it's used in your opponent's shooting phase. And it's just -1 to attack. Subtract 1 from the shooting model. That's pretty sweet. Going into Warlord traits. Now, 6 for Space Marine, the regular Space Marine Warlord traits, and then 6 of the Vanguard Marine ones. And then you have your specific to your chapters Warlord traits. So I'm going to do a really quick skim through here. Fear Made Manifest, subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of models in that unit. Each time combat attrition test is taken for that unit, subtract 1 from the combat attrition test. Imperium Sword, basically when your Warlord charges or makes a heroic intervention, you're getting +1 strength, +1 to your attacks. And you can reroll charge rolls made for them. Iron Resolve, add 1 to the wounds characteristic of the Warlord, and each time the Warlord loses a wound, roll a d6, basically 6 plus feel no pain. Champion of Humanity, this is interesting. So you get +1 attack against enemy characters, and you also, each time you're fighting in melee against an enemy character, you're getting to add 1 to the attack's hit and wound roll. That's pretty sweet. Storm of Fire. Basically, when a friendly chapter core unit is within 6 inches of the Warlord, each time a model in that unit makes a ranged attack on an unmodified wound roll of 6, improve the armor penetration characteristic of that attack by 1. Rites of War, while a friendly chapter core or chapter character unit is within 6 inches of the Warlord, it has the objective secured ability that's going to get used a lot. That's pretty sweet. Shoot and Fade for the Vanguard. Once per turn in your shooting phase, after shooting with a friendly chapter Phobos unit within 6 inches of the Warlord, that unit can make a normal move or it can advance in either case. If it does, the unit is not eligible to declare charge this turn. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's just Lord of Deceit. Yeah, after both players have deployed their armies, select up to 3 Chapter Phobos units from your army and redeploy them. If the mission uses the Strategic Reserves rules, any of those units can be placed into Strategic Reserves without having to spend additional CPs, regardless of how many units have already been put in Strategic Reserves. If both players have abilities that redeploy units, roll off. The winner chooses who to redeploys their units first. That's fun. If you wanted to go like really heavy themed Phobos army, that's pretty fun. Yeah, now moving on to the chapter specific ones. Dark Angels get Brilliant Strategist. In your command phase, you can select 1 friendly Dark Angels unit within 6 inches of this Warlord, and until the start of your next command phase, if the Tactical Doctrine is active in your army, then each time a model in that unit makes an attack, the Devastator Doctrine is considered to be active for the attack instead. If the Assault Doctrine is active for your army, then each time a model in that unit makes an attack, the Tactical Doctrine is considered to be active for the attack instead. White Scars, Deadly Hunter. After this Warlord makes a charge move, you can select 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of that and roll 1d6 on 2 plus that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Yeah, no. Beast Slayer, Space Wolves. While the Warlord is in engagement range of enemy monster or vehicle units, add 1 to attack's characteristic. Each time this Warlord makes an attack against a monster or vehicle, add 1 to that attack's hit roll and 1 to the attack's wound roll. So it's good against monsters and vehicles. I mean, Thunderhammer wielding boys swinging against vehicles and monsters is going to be fun with that. Imperial Fists, Architect of War. While the friendly Imperial Fists core unit is receiving the benefits of cover, is within 6 inches of this Warlord, each time an attack with an armor penetration characteristic of -1 is allocated to a model in that unit, that attack has an armor penetration characteristic of 0 instead. You're trying to be Salamanders, but you're not. Crimson Fists, Refuse to Die. The first time this Warlord is destroyed, you can choose to roll 1d6 at the end of the phase instead of using any rules that are triggered when a model is destroyed. Example, only in death does Zudian, blah, 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 blah. If you do, then on a 4+, set this Warlord back up on the battlefield as close as possible to where they were destroyed and more than 1 inch away from enemy models with D3 wounds remaining. Crimson Fists getting perpetuals. Interesting. Black Templars, Oathkeepers. This Warlord is eligible to perform a heroic intervention if it is within 6 inches horizontally and 5 inches vertically of any enemy unit. Each time the Warlord makes a heroic intervention move, it can move up to 6 inches instead of 3 inches. All other rules for heroic intervention still apply. That's fun. That's some old Space Wolf stuff right there from last edition. Blood Angels, Speed of the Primarch. So at the start of the fight phase, if this Warlord is within engagement range of an enemy unit, it can fight first that phase. So you get to fight first. That's pretty cool. And now we're moving on to Flesh Tearers. So then there's Flesh Tearers. Each time the Warlord fights, if there are 5 or more enemy models within 3 inches of it, it can make D3 additional attacks. That's kind of fun. Iron Hands, Adept of the Omnissiah. At the end of your movement phase, unless a Warlord is a Tech Marine, it can repair 1 friendly Iron Hands vehicle model within 1 inch of it. The vehicle model regains 1 lost wound. Each model can only be repaired once per turn. If this Warlord is a Tech Marine, then each time it uses the Blessing of the Omnissiah ability, the model it is repairing regains up to D3 plus 1 wounds lost instead of D3. So you get plus 1 wound on there. It's alright. While this Warlord, I think a lot of the time you're going to find people going with the Warlord traits that are in the codexes as it is. Ultramarines Adept of the Codex. While this Warlord is on the battlefield, each time you spend a command point to use stratagem, you can roll 1d6 on a 5+. That command point is refunded. Salamanders, +2 strength to your Warlord. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of these are a lot of the ones from the supplements are just being replicated and thrown in here. So somebody could just use this book as it is, as it stands, and not have to worry about having the supplement if they really. But I mean, you want the supplement because you want those stratagems. And anyways, Raven Guard, Echo of the Ravenspire. Once per battle at the end of your movement phase, this Warlord can vanish into the gloom if it is more than 6 inches from any enemy models. If it does, remove it from the battlefield, and then in the reinforcement step of your subsequent movement phase, set up the Warlord anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from the enemy models. If the battle ends and the Warlord is not on the battlefield, it counts as being destroyed. So, Deathwatch, Vigilance Incarnate. In your command phase, you can select 1 friendly Deathwatch core unit within 6 inches of your Warlord. Each time you do, select 1 battlefield roll until the end of your next command phase. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack against an enemy unit with that battlefield roll, reroll a wound roll of 1. Okay. And now we're on to the relics. So we're going to just really skim through these. There's some really good ones. Shield Eternal's back. Bearer has a 4+ invulnerable save. Add 1 to armor saving throws made for the bearer. Each time the bearer would lose a wound, roll 1d6 on a 5+. That wound is not lost. Burning Blade is back, +3 strength, AP -5, damage 2, replaces a power sword or mastercraft power sword. It's kind of fun little thing to throw on. You could throw on a character. You could throw that on a sergeant too, potentially. Primaris Wrath, mastercrafted bolt gun or special issue bolt carbine only. The relic replaces a bolt gun, mastercrafted bolt gun, special issue bolt carbine that has the following profile: rapid fire 2, 24-inch range, strength 5, AP -2, 2 damage. Meh. Yeah, there's some good ones in here. I mean, there's ones that you're gonna really like. You're gonna focus on the Armor Indomitus. Add 1 to the wounds characteristic of the bearer. The bearer has a save characteristic of 2+. Once per battle before a saving throw is made for the bearer, it can activate its armor's force field. If it does, it gets a 3+ invuln. Remember that 3+ invulns are gone. Storm shields don't have those anymore. They're 4+ now, and +1 to the armor save. So that's kind of fun. Yeah, Ghostweave Cloak, model with camo cloak only. Each time the bearer makes a normal move, advance, or fall back, it can move across models as if they were not there. Each time an attack is made against the bearer, subtract 1 from the attack's hit roll. That's kind of... yeah, anyways. It's kind of interesting. Tome of Malkador. Librarian model only. Bearer knows 1 additional psychic power from any discipline it has access to. So you could really stack that with the beefed up librarians, and you can just create a guy that knows so many spells. And I mean, he doesn't get to cast an additional one. So good. There's definitely some good ones in there. Librarians Discipline, Obscuration Discipline. I'm not going to go through all these. There were some changes. Veil of Time until the next psychic phase. You can reroll advance rolls and charge rolls made for units until the start of your next psychic phase. If that unit starts the fight phase within engagement range of an enemy unit, it fights first that phase. Yeah, Might of Heroes, though you can buff up some characters pretty well here. I mean, yeah, there's not a lot of changes. There are some, and there's some newness. Litanies of Battle. These haven't changed that much. Yeah, they're pretty much carried over for the most part. What you will see is that the core word has been thrown in a lot of the time here. So chaplains are really buffing core units, nothing else. So, well, characters and themselves with Mantra of Strength. And then you get into the chapter approved rules. Again, we're not going to go through these too heavily, but there's some changes to progressive objectives, end of game objectives, things you can take. It's kind of cool. From a competitive standpoint, it's kind of fun because it's going to add some flexibility and some unique abilities for specific factions, and I think that's going to be fun. So you're going to see people play around with those. Crusade rules. Crusade is just a sweet thing, and you've got all your different little agendas here, and then we're going to go into requisitions. So the requisitions are great. These are super thematic. You can turn a character into a dreadnought using some of your requisition points, and you can take a character and just like throw him in a dreadnought sarcophagus and just like have him run around the table for the rest of the campaign or whatever. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Indomitus Crusade Veterans, Rubicon Primaris. Oh yeah, you can have a character cross the Rubicon. This is so sweet. Oh, these are great. And there's a lot of fun and fluff to be had in these pages and the Crusade rules. And if you're not like a tournament player or avid tournament player, or maybe you are, and maybe you're looking to just kind of get into the more narrative side of the game, this is just so much fun. And it's such a good way to start a new army too, because you can just kind of build as you go and slowly add stuff to the to your collection. Honorifics. These are really cool. Yeah, there's some great stuff here, guys. If you're into the fluff side, this is a beautiful book. Totally worth. I gotta say, these if GW keeps putting out codexes like this, the format and the layout of these is just beautiful. It's so well thought out versus past. I have to say, versus past codexes, it just doesn't feel like you have to flip around as much. It also feels like everything's in here and it's like concise. The wording has less. There's less loopholes and stuff in the wording and stuff. I think it was really well thought out. I'm excited to see what they do in the future with these. So they're into data sheets. Talks about the combat doctrines, assault doctrines. It talks about all the Angels of Death abilities that come with it. And then here's your deployment abilities: combat squads, death from above, concealed positions, outflank, teleport strike. Here it actually gives you a non-codex compliant chapters section. And so you have your Black Templars, basically saying that they can't take any Librarians. Dark Angels can't take Sternguard Veteran Squads, Vanguard Veteran Squads. Death Watch can't take Assault Squads, Attack Bike Squad, Bike Squad, Devastator Squad, Sternguard Veteran Squad, Tactical Squads, Scout Units. Space Wolves can't take the Apothecary, Assault Squads, Devastator Squads, Sternguard Squads, Tactical Squads, Veteran and Vanguard Veteran Squads. And those are for obvious reasons. I mean, a lot of those armies have... They're keeping true to the fluff, and some of those armies have other units. Like, for example, Space Wolves, instead of Tactical, we have Blood Claws and Grey Hunters. And so, yeah, makes sense. But, yeah, you've got everything kind of clearly laid out and understood here. Definitely worth giving a read through before you start building your army and understand how everything works if you aren't familiar with it already. And then we get into the data sheet. So I'm really going to skim through these. I'm not going to talk about each and every unit, but I am going to just focus on some of the newer stuff, and then I'm also going to focus on the some major changes. Not all major changes, not all changes, but just some of them. So Primaris Captain, you've got the wording, I will say, on these characters is really weird. I'll say they took away all flexibility of customizing your character's loadout options. It's essentially like what the models they have in existence represent is the equipment options that you have available to take. So you can't take a Power Fist and a Storm Shield. You can't take a Storm Shield and a Thunder Hammer, which I'm really upset about as a Space Wolf player. I really just wanted to be able to do that. So anyways, we'll see if anything gets changed with that. But yeah, the customization of equipment options for characters is really kind of taken a step back, I think. Or maybe it's a step forward. I don't know. Anyways, I get why they're doing it. I just don't like the fact that it does kind of reduce the opportunity for conversion work and everything like that. I think it limits, and I don't like limitations. Captain with mastercrafted heavy bolt rifle. He is there. That is a strength 5, AP -1, damage 2 weapon, rapid fire. It's pretty sweet. Yeah, you've got all your different captains: Phobos armor, Gravis armor, Terminator armor. Captain, as he stands. Captain. I should mention that, as I said before, and I was complaining about the lack of customization. I mean, most of the customization is still there for your firstborn boys. Captain on bike. Primaris Lieutenant. Lieutenant. Primaris Librarian. Librarian. More Librarians. Phobos Librarian. Chappies. New Primaris Chaplain on bike. T5. Gonna have some fun with that with some Salamanders Warlord traits. Anyways, this is gonna be fun. it's really nice to be able to have those chants where you need them on the tabletop. Although now you have the ability to do some things with the chaplains with the jump pack, or the chaplain with in Terminator armor, and the ability for them to chant the turn that they come down. So don't forget about that. Primaris Tech Marine, new model, to be released very shortly, possibly the time on the day of or near the day of releasing this video. Servitor, Tech Marine, Intercessor Squad. So we're going to start seeing that core keyword in all these units, these base units. There's not, most obviously characters aren't going to have the core keyword, but they have the character keyword. So if a rule affects only something with core, pay attention. A lot of stuff got it, but some stuff didn't. So when you're list building and if you're planning your little combos and your auras and everything, make sure that you're paying attention to that. Assault Intercessor Squad, Heavy Intercessor Squad. You do have the ability to take Hand Flamer, Plasma Pistol, Chainsword can be replaced with Power Fist, Power Sword, Thunder Hammer, etc. Same thing with the Intercessor Squad. Heavy Intercessor Squad, new boys. These guys are great. Really thematic for a Imperial Fists army. I think you're going to start seeing these guys a lot. They're in Gravis armor. So again, remember, squads of 5 are probably going to be the ideal number, just to be able to use, because they do have those 3 wounds, right? So to be able to use transhuman on them. Their weapon options are really interesting. They have like heavy bolters, and then they have 3 different variants of the heavy bolters. So they have their standard, then they have the Hellstorm heavy bolter or the Executor heavy bolter, and then they each have the same thing for their regular heavy bolt rifles. So the Executor, heavy, and Hellstorm, and they all do something a little different. I mean, the Executor, you're looking at strength 5, AP -2, damage 2, or 3 on the heavy bolter variant. Heavy 1, heavy 2 shots. Heavy bolt rifle, you're looking at rapid fire 1 and strength 5, AP -1 damage versus your standard heavy bolter profile, which now has 2 damage, as everybody knows. That's a big deal for a lot of people. AP -1, strength 5. Hellstorm bolt rifle is assault 3, strength 5, AP 0, 1 damage, and assault 3. So the Hellstorm is just a volley of fire. It is heavy, but then this is assault, so they're going to be affected differently. The only one that's kind of consistent is taking the Executor, because the Executor is heavy and heavy, so it's going to be affected by heavy doctrines. Then from there on, it depends on what phase you're in for your tactical doctrines. Infiltrator Squad, Incursor Squad, Tactical Squad, Company Champion. Companies, you'll notice the melted bombs keyword as mentioned before on the Tactical Squad there. Smokescreen keyword on the Infiltrator Squad. Smokescreen on Incursor Squad. So that's kind of interesting. You can start doing that to for some of your infantry are able to use that. Scout Squad, Primaris Apothecary, Company Ancient, Primaris Ancient, Bladeguard Ancient. Bladeguard, these guys are great. Veteran Intercessor Squad. So this has its own profile now. So before you used to spend command points and be able to upgrade an Intercessor Squad. Now you're doing it this way. You're just buying the unit as an elite option. And you thought Space Marines didn't have enough elites. Also, a quick mention. Scout Squads are elites. They're elites now. No more taking 3 5-man scout squads to fill your core choices, and I'm actually a big fan of that change, because as a Space Wolf player, we've always had that. So now you guys can all catch up. Veteran Intercessors, yeah, it's pretty sweet, and you can take these as the assault variant. So that's getting kind of gross with these 3 attacks on. You start throwing on some Astartes Chainswords on there and running them up the field. I mean, they're looking at 4 attacks, 5 attacks on the charge per model. Yeah, 10-man squad of those guys is going to be Flesh Terrors. I'm telling you, there's going to be some fun. Black Templars, yeah. All the melee goodness. Bladeguard Veterans, these guys are great. Again, Storm Shields, as mentioned before, 4+ invuln save. These guys are 2 to 5 now, or sorry, 1 to 6, 3 to 6. Holy, it's been a long day. These guys are 3 to 6 now. So same with some other units that we're going to be talking about very shortly, but that's kind of nice because now you're going to be able to upgrade the size of them. Vanguard Veterans, Sternguard Veterans, Judicar, good model released in Dominus. Reaver Squad, Aggressor Squad. Aggressors no longer fire twice if they remain stationary. So yeah, that's a big thing for my Salamander plans, but yeah, Aggressor's not having that. So now we're moving on to the Assault, we've got the Terminator Assault Squad, Terminator Squad, Relic Terminator Squad, Centurion Assault Squad, and Victor Tactical Warsuit. You'll notice that it does not have the Dreadnought keyword. Dreadnoughts now gain the duty Eternal. Each time an attack is allocated to this unit, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of that attack. All Dreadnoughts got that. That's amazing. That's beautiful. I love it. Nathan is kicking his heels somewhere. Yeah, you've got that's a big deal. That's going to be really that's scary on an ironclad. With T8, 8 wounds. Yeah, that's going to be fun. So you're going to see some shenanigans now with that. Oh yeah, and there's some changes to some of the weapon profiles too that are worth looking at, right? The macroplasma incinerator for the Redemptor has changed a little bit too. So a lot of weapon profiles have changed. So it's worth giving it a read through. Don't just trust your past experience anymore. When we're coming into 9th edition, you got to give everything a good read. Invader ATV. I'm not gonna say what I want to say about that. Outrider Squad. These guys are in here. They've got the devastating charge. So it still says in the charge move this turn, and then until that, if it made a charge move this turn, then until that fight is resolved, add 2 to the attacks characteristic of the models in that unit. So I thought that they were going to reword that and say that they got 2 instead of 1 for shock assault, but they didn't. So, just so many attacks. Crazy. Those Outrider squads are just devastating. The White Scars are going to have just such a field day with those. You're going to see them everywhere. Invader ATV, you do have the option of taking a multi-melt on it, as was mentioned in when Games Workshop released it. But it also talks about, you'll notice that in some of the data sheets here, it'll say if they can take the Raven Wing keyword or Wolf Guard or Bike Squad, Scout Squad, Attack Bike Squad, Suppressor Squads here. Inceptors are back. There they are. Why would they leave? They wouldn't. Storm Speeder, Hail Strike, Storm Speeder, Thunder Strike, Storm Speeder, Hammer Strike. All 3 new units. The new Primaris version of the Land Speeder. Land Speeders are still here. But when we're talking about these, yeah, you can see all the different weapon variants. They broke them down into 3 separate data sheets, which is kind of interesting. Kind of expected them all to be in one and then just have the different three different loadouts and the equipment options and take up 1 page maybe instead of 1.5. I don't know. Anyways, what do I know? There's no real changes other than that for the stat profiles and everything. Everything is exactly the same for stats. None of them have special rules. Anyways, that's just an interesting thing to me. I guess it's because of the keywords. I don't know. Anyways, moving on. Landspeeder Tornadoes, Typhoons, Hellblaster squads are here. Eliminator squads, Eradicator squads, Devs, Devastator Centurions. The Eradicator squads, again, as mentioned before with the Bladeguard, they are now 3 to 6. Man, I keep saying that. 3 to 6 for unit size. So again, recommend taking 5. Devastator squads, Thunderfire cannon. Thunderfire cannon, you'll notice the strength profile of it is 4. And as mentioned before, they don't have all the different weapon variants and everything. I think you're going to see Thunderfire cannons. I don't want to laugh. I'm sorry if I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. But those guys that ran out and bought 3 of them late in the edition, and now are they're going to be collecting dust. You're going to see a lot of those in used bins, I imagine. Fire strike servo turrets. I'm still on the fence about it. I mean, it's 1 to 3 choice. The points values, I don't know. I guess it could be worth it, but the last Talon's a little weird to me. I mean, the thing doesn't move. If you're doing a gun line and it's only got 24-inch range, it's kind of it's meh. Hunter, Stalker, Whirlwind, Predator Destructor, Predator Annihilator, Gladiator Lancer, the new tanks. Now, again, 3 different variants. So you got your Lancer, your Reaper, and your Valiant, all in separate data sheets. All have different weapon loadouts. I'm actually going to be a big fan of the Valiant just because, twin las talons, 4 shots, and then you got 2 multi-meltas, both pumping out 4 shots, 24-inch range, so it's very synergized. 30-inch range for this one, synergized, and this one's 72, 24, 18. Yeah, this is the one that's a little all over the place. But that, I don't know, that Lancer laser destroyers, heavy 2 shots, strength 10, EP minus 3, D3. The only thing that's different between these is that these 2 do not, but this one gains the equivalent optics, which is each time this model makes an attack with a Lancer laser destroyer, add 1 to that attack's hit roll. So it's kind of promotes taking that variant, I guess. I don't know. Use magnets, guys. Take them all. Mix and match. Have fun. Learn what works for you. Vindicator, Land Raider Crusader, Redeemer. Best tank in the game. Repulsor Executioner. Rhino. Razorback. Impulsor. Quick note about the Impulsor. Shield is now a 5+. So there's that. The shield dome. Some points dropped with it though, with the equipment options and such. But yeah, I don't know. It hurts a little bit. Now it's whereas before I think for me it was a sure thing to take the 4+ invuln. Now I'm kind of like on the fence about it because maybe the other options are, I don't know. Impulsor's doesn't have fly, I don't know. I have 2 of them. Still going to use them, but I don't know if they'll be as good anymore. Drop pods are back, baby. Get ready to see, with the wording of drop pods, you get ready to see drop pod armies all over the place again. And they're cheap. Yeah, that's going to be fun. Landspear Storm, Stormhawk Interceptor, Storm Talon Gunship, Storm Raven Gunship. Quick note, when we talked about at the beginning of the data sheets here, the breakdown of, this is how many data sheets. Look at this. Look at this madness. So when we get back to here, when we talk about who can't take what, there's a lot of stuff that isn't listed that wasn't before. So Storm Talon Gunship, Storm Raven Gunship for Space Wolves? What? Death Watch? Yeah, I think they're going to see some changes to that, but I don't know, maybe. But that's how many data sheets, and we're not even done yet. It's like that's how many data sheets. Crazy. And the Hammerfall Bunker. I got mixed reviews on this thing. Brett seems to think that there's some magic that can be had there. It's a cool model. I love the look of it. I think it would look really cool in like a gunline army having a few of those on the table. I think the flamers are a little weird. to take on it because the thing isn't mobile. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's a weird unit. It's weird. Brett did mention, though, throwing a Tech Marine on it, and you can have some shenanigans with that. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with this guy. And then we get into weapon profiles. It just gives you definitions. So melta weapons, plasma weapons, flame weapons, bolt weapons. Gives you sort of a breakdown of each. Everything's pretty clear cut here. Some major changes, some subtle changes, some no changes. For melee weapons, big things to mention there. Some big things to mention there. Yeah, see, the Thunderhammer is only AP -2. So they mentioned that they were going to be changing a lot of stuff like that. And yeah. Really read through, guys. Not everything as it was. All right, and then we're into the points values. I'm not going through all the different points values. Some stuff went up, some stuff stayed the same, some stuff went down. I will make a quick note on the point value section. There were some subtle changes to this. Yeah, you're going to see some, the way that everything is laid out is just beautiful. Like, so you've got your character, unit size, cost, and then your points for all your upgrades. It's pretty sweet. Everything's in one spot for you now. And it's all beautifully laid out. It's going to be really easy to build a list. Even easier when we can do it in the app, but... And that's it. You got your glossary, your kind of wind up here, wind down, reference, and then quick mention, at the back of the book, there is this beautiful little code, which will allow you access to your codex anytime on your phone, on your tablet, whatever, through the app if you are subscribed. So I don't know if it's worth it. That's for you guys to decide whether or not you want it. It is nice to know that you get a digital version of the, you essentially get a digital version of the codex with the purchase of the codex. More incentive to buy the hard copy and then just use the digital stuff from there. So yeah, let's jump back into the studio and I'll give you guys my closing thoughts. So all in all, a great piece of writing by GW. I'm a huge fan of the format of Space Marines. I think there's been a lot of fear for people that Space Marines are going to be the only thing you're going to see on the tabletop as far as like a competitive sense. I think you're going to only see them for a little while until the other codexes start flowing out and everybody kind of gets up to date. I would say that I wasn't as thrown off. I didn't think that there was as much of a buff in this book as far as the rules that have been recently released towards the end of 8th edition. I don't think that there was a huge jump in their power. I think that they probably stayed around the same, and there was a few changes that might actually knock them down a peg. It's really going to depend on the combinations. I mean, you're going to see some White Scars lists out there that are going to be, well, you've already seen them towards the end of 8th, you were seeing them, but you're going to see them in 9th edition with this book. And I think you're also going to see a little bit more diversity with Space Marine chapters. I don't think that it's heavily favored towards that one White Scars list. You're going to see some combinations coming out of this thing that will really make people be able to play that chapter that they really wanted to play. And let's not skip over the narrative aspect of this book. When it's coming down to it, I mean, the Crusade rules are fantastic. There's so much fun to be had there. And if you're starting a Space Marine collection, I would start there because ultimately, these guys are the poster boys of Warhammer 40,000. Let's not forget that the universe has always sort of revolved around these guys. From the Horus Heresy and on, they have been the focal point of Warhammer 40,000 lore. And everything else has just kind of been growing around them. So we got to remember them. They have their rightful place. They have their place at the top. And I think that you're going to see the other codexes in the future release start to creep up and match these guys on a playing level. But for now, get ready to see Space Marines everywhere. I have Space Marines. I think 75% of the team on the channel have Space Marine armies. So yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Please also remember to comment below if you think that we missed something, if you think there's a really cool combination from this book and you've already read through it and you think there's a great combo to be had. Please share up, let everybody know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and have a good one.
Sponsored by...
Thanks for watching, guys. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more of our content, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and let us know that you want to see more content from Anvil of War Gaming. I can't speak. One of those has got to be good.